as you saw from the time lapse, a lot got done, partially. Most of the wiring and some other stuff. We did find out that the drive shaft sent to us by Siki was 3 inches off, so that's fun. Email sent out, and let's see how their customer service is. But other than that, I got pretty much everything plugged up. I'm missing a coolant temp sensor. That's what this bolt's here for. Spark plugs. Still have to set up a power cord from the alternator all the way to the battery. When I move the electric power steering over, I'll probably tee off the power source there. Just jump it in and over. We'll see how that turns out. A lot of parts from the E30, like the IAT sensor and the pressure sensor. This was the oil pressure sensor for the SR, but now it's the fuel pressure sensor because apparently the Rebel needs it. Cool, right? So now I'm figuring out, I got my injector harnesses with my adapters to Miltech. So the Miltech 3s, I think they are. It's a crazy amount of like adapter harnesses and whatnot. So this underneath this intake is an absolute mess. I'm going to try to clean it up, but since this is meant for a swap, they gave so much length because they're not used to everything being right here and close. They're used to it being like a big truck super far away. Dealing with vacuum ports. You got the one vacuum line currently. There it is. The one vacuum line currently that leads to the fuel pressure regulator. So that's fun. As for underneath side, isn't a whole lot of much. All right, let me go ahead and rotate this intake real quick. So it's sitting down, all nice and pretty. Let's just say doing wiring and anything underneath this intake is going to be hell on earth. But looks pretty good in the car. This low profile intake definitely isn't as low as we thought it was going to be. So looks like I'm going to have to cut the hood. Not to mention this, maybe it'll focus. There you go. This is definitely taller than all of this. And I'm probably going to have to drill a hole in the middle and chop this top off to trim it down. Luckily, it was some cheap eBay thing, but it's for the throttle cable. All the chrome I thought would kind of look tacky. I just didn't honestly want to pay the extra money to spray paint it black. I could do that later on. But it's looking pretty good. Our biggest hurdle is that the drive shaft is 3 inches short. And I got to do some wiring. And then the biggest hurdle besides the drive shaft is legitimately the oiling. So because we're running an AccuSump, we're going to have to run the oil filter relocation kit down, over through the motor, through the firewall, all the way back to the AccuSump, then all the way back up to the front where I'm going to run an oil cooler, and then back into the freaking motor. So it's going to be a lot of line, and I'm going to run into a lot, an absolute lot of oil line, an AN line. So that's going to be actually more expensive than pretty much anything else on this motor, which is crazy to say. And we're pretty deep on the amount we owe in it now. But lower radiator hose from the SR fit pretty good, actually. So, where is it at? You can see part of it right there. But essentially, that's actually hooked up to the radiator and the water pump side. So that actually works out great. This side's going to be interesting because I have to have a 90, a straight, into another 90. So we'll see how that turns out. Got to figure out length of belt to put on this bad boy. Put the starter on, did test that. Let's just say that high torque starter is absolutely crazy. Granted, there's no spark plugs in there, so there was not a whole lot of pressure to fight, but it spun that motor quick. So looks like I'll barely have to crank it every time I want to start, but I'm pretty much done for the night. I'm cooked. It was a big blow finding out that the drive shaft from a very expensive kit doesn't fit. Let's see how their customer service is. I'm hoping they get back and send me a new one that's 3 inches longer. If not, we have a problem. But I still got to set up some relays and some power lines. I'll probably do tomorrow. I might drill into the water pump to set up for the vents, the head port vents, or whatever they're called. I have the stock ones for the front. The back ones are capped off, but the front's got to go into something, and I have no clue where to put a 1/8 inch fitting in the coolant system. So I don't know if I want to run like that jerry rig middle. It goes upper radiator hose, cut it in the middle. You put this adapter in there with a NBT freaking threaded piece that you run into a nipple, or I could just drill that into the back of the water pump housing, and that won't hurt anything. So we will see. But finally got some stuff done. Yeah, it's been hot, been a lot of money and a lot of waiting on people and things. We are getting somewhere. ECU's already wired up. I have to wire in the ignition switch. Clear out all the wiring from previous setups. A lot of my gauge pods will not be hooked up this time, sadly, but luckily I have a CAN bus dash. Big old shout out to this hidden company at the time. It's Power Digital Dash. It was $600 at the time, and it's CAN bus straight to the ECU, and it works out great. But yeah, exhaust is gonna be a pain. But I hope this was a fun little video. I basically just been out of it ever since the SR blew. I didn't want to record, didn't really want to do anything, didn't want to talk. It's weird talking to yourself or a camera. So we'll see. But next time, see you later. So I did it again. I just didn't record. It's been hell of a rush. Basically today is Sunday. I gotta go to work tomorrow and the day after, and I gotta come back to this state for a private day on Wednesday to test the car out. And then this weekend, Thursday, Friday, is the actual hill climb. So I basically just stopped recording again. Car's back with me. So long story short, car went over to Casey's over there at AK, his brand new shop. It was a beautiful shop. Casey knocked out this absolutely stunning exhaust. I'll have to put a couple of pictures, but he cut up. So he cut up the manifold in the back, bent it downward to make clearance. The other side is actually the impressive one. But yeah, so the car went over there to Casey and all the boys down at AK, and they cut up the manifolds and bent them the proper way. Did a couple pie cuts. Casey's always looking out for me. Rushed ordered it, got it done by basically less than a week. Just squeezed me in. Always grateful to those guys. Then this Saturday, a couple days ago, yesterday, I woke up at the butt crack of dawn, grabbed Kyle, and we ran out to Casey's to pick up the car / work on it. So we ended up cleaning up some stuff. Unfortunately, my T-sensor's not in a place yet. Ran all the wiring, bled the brakes. We did a toe adjustment on the front of this. Buttoned it all up. Finally got the dry shaft. The dry shaft, of course, after I got it back from the dry shaft shop, was too long after a small argument with them about the sizing. I swore it needed 2.5 inches longer. They said it needed 3 3/4, so they did it longer than me. They're professionals. Yeah, they were wrong. So I had to go back, get them to cut it once more, and pay for it again to get them to shorten it 1 inch. Now it fits. I have a small little video of this bad boy running from early today. So we'll go ahead and zoom to that. But sounds great. The unfortunate part is that because it's just headers, the O2 sensor is too close to the exiting of the exhaust. That means that every time the cam chops and it sucks in just a little bit of air through the exhaust, it makes my O2 not able to read anything. So we basically went off of Kyle's history and experience of tuning in open loop, so it never adjusts, not based on the O2 sensor, and we drove it around and played it by ear down low. So anything down low is pretty much by ear, listening it out, making sure we're slightly on the rich side from what usually happens. But once we get into it, it clears it up some just because there's more pressure being pushed out as we were driving. Um, yeah, that one was pretty fun. Had to go on public roads with open headers and drive up and down the street and not get arrested. Got lots of dirty looks. I wish I was recording, but yeah. So by the end of the day, we snapped the throttle cable. Well, at least the end bit that holds it. So once they snaps the throttle cable, there's a little joint down here in the very end of this. Right, no, come on, focus. Right down here. And so, went to go stab the throttle to make sure it was able to do its job, and sure as hell, snapped it right off. So we had to go get some universal ones, put them on there, snug them down. They're real snug now, so they ain't going nowhere. A couple of dilemmas. So now it's, for the most part, somewhat tuned, drivable, absolutely ear raping, no fluid leaking besides fuel at the end of the day. But yeah, so by the end of the day, we went to go load up the car onto the trailer, and lo and behold, a fuel leak sprung up. Of course, the headers on the driver's side were really tight to the fuel lines. I was warned about this from Casey, so I still drove it around, had to get the tune done. We're on a real time crunch. Yeah, went to go load it up and just started spilling fuel all over underneath, so it ran, but it didn't, so I had to push it up on the car trailer, yada, yada, yada. A whole lot of bull. But got it home. I just got underneath it. I took off this one side of the header. And I installed some heat wrap back here and up here. I wrapped my brake line. And here's my fuel line. I ended up having to bend the bracket. Let's see if I can get down in there. So down here my finger is. I actually had to bend down because it used to sit up here. Then I ran it into a holder with heat wrap and then ran up. So I had to clean that up. That's good, no leaks now. Turns out this fitting too, this little 6AN was leaking as well, so had to get that done. Replace that. Basically, I'm gonna have to find time to fire it up and make sure nothing leaks. But next time you see me, I should be going to SMS for a test day real quick. Hopefully I don't die, hopefully the car lasts, and hopefully I can get everything set up for the mountains. Wish me luck.